Welcome to the Travelex Outlook for the week of May 17th. The dollar started the week out broadly stronger. Dollar touched a four-year high against the euro. However, we have seen the U.S. currency surrender some of those gains as investor sentiment has improved with stocks up abroad. Last week, however, we did see the dollar turn in another strong performance against the embattled single currency. In fact, right now we're seeing the euro as the worst performing major currency. It's down 14% this year alone, with the single currency losing half of that amount this month alone on concerns about Europe's debt situation. We did see the single currency get fleeting support last week after the announcement of a massive, nearly $1 trillion emergency aid package. That lent only brief support, and however, ever since then, we have seen the single currency test new lows. Last week, it spent the better part of the week at a 14-month low against the dollar, while it also fell to its lowest level and record lows against the Aussie and the Swiss currency. And at this point, investors are really concerned that a lot of the budget-cutting measures that Eurozone governments are taking, that is ultimately going to weigh on the growth outlook for the bloc, and that is putting downward pressure on the euro, and that's also forcing a lot of investors to reconsider the outlook for monetary policy in the region. So consequently, that really does weigh on the euro's yield appeal, and we're seeing the single currency really have a difficult time bouncing off some of those record lows that we've seen. By contrast, the outlook for U.S. growth is firmly in place after data last week on retail sales and consumer sentiment all improved, and that is reinforcing expectations in the market that the Fed could raise interest rates this year, and so that does tend to help the dollar's yield appeal. The week ahead for the U.S. dollar, we're going to look to data on manufacturing and also capital inflows, while later in the week we'll get some housing figures, and that'll help gauge the strength of the U.S. recovery. Out of Canada, investors will look to data on Friday on consumer prices and retail sales to help shape expectations for the coming weeks and whether or not the Bank of Canada will raise interest rates. We have seen the loonie, although it did fall to a four-week low against the dollar last week, it has since rebounded, and that's on expectations that rates are headed higher in Canada. That's it for this week. Please visit us online for breaking foreign exchange news.